remember, but it makes sense because they do have a bond. And even though there were some like arguments during that, they by and large really all got along at the end of the day. Like they had good moments, and it's like, it's just natural that you connect with the people you know.
Welcome to Cocktails and Gossip, the podcast where we drink cocktails, but you better believe we're going to spill the tea. We chat reality TV, celebrity blinds, and the hottest tea from BravoandCocktails.com. And as always, it's all alleged and just for fun. We do not verify our blinds. I'm B.
And I'm Amanda. Let's get into this week's tea.
What's up, cocktailers? It's been a week in the Bravo land, and we're bringing you all the scoop we've been hearing about.
Hi, cocktailers. I mean, I don't know about you. I don't know if it's because it's like the first week back, like full week back, but this has been like it's not been a bad week. It's just been a long week. And I think it's too, because it's like, I feel like every day something big is happening with Bravo. And like, you know, we're getting all of these like comments and stuff that we're responding to. And it's just like, all of a sudden, it's gotten really busy in the Bravo land.
My mind is too many places, and then I made the mistake of having like a couple hours to myself and asking for recommendations on shows to binge. I don't know if you've seen Ginny and Georgia, have you?
I haven't yet.
Okay, well, don't start it until you have like a gap of time, because it's very addicting, and there I was staying up way, way past my bedtime, binging it. And now I regret it, because now it's done. It's 2 seasons. It's so good. I don't know if I like the people, if I hate the people. I love the show. It's addicting. Then, of course, I ordered The Spare by King Harry. That came yesterday. So right after I was done with my binge, I have that. And then I have all this Bravo stuff going on. So my family just basically is like, we don't have a wife, we don't have a mother.
I got Spare on audio. So, because I kind of want to hear him read it in his own voice. So we'll have to compare
I've never done an audiobook, but I feel like in this case, it might be too hard, because you're going to see it's a memoir. And I'm not, and just to be clear, cocktailers, and we could flush this out if you guys want us to talk more about it. We could always do an extra pod about it. I am not team Harry and Meghan or team Royals. Honestly, what I know about it, I just feel like it's very complicated, and I'm not on either side. I think that both probably are to blame for some things. You know, that being said, This is a memoir about a man who lost his mom as a boy, and you know, reading that as from my own point of view, and everyone will have their own point of view as a mother, as someone who's lost her mother, and gratefully I was lucky enough to have my mother into my adulthood, but it just brings up a lot of stuff. So I think it would be hard for me to like hear him say it.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm hoping to just like listen to it in bits and pieces, like on dog walks and like in the car, that kind of thing. So I find
him very sexy too. Like when he was a teenager, I found him sexy, and now as a man, and that's not gross, because like I was a teenager too. But like, and now as a man, I find him very sexy.
Do you? I think there's something very attractive about him too. I've always thought like redheaded guys are like good looking, which
me too.
Puts me
adjacent.
I think it puts us in like a smaller box of people, but I just always have. But I had noticed, I watched the 60 Minutes on Sunday, and then I watched the couple. I can't remember what was the other one.
Netflix
that was
special?
out a couple. No, there. Oh yes, that. Yes, those 2 things. Did you notice that? And then, like, in any pictures, it cuts him off, like, just over his hairline. And, like, all the shots are, like, strategically, because to not show his bald spot. And, like,
that was the first thing my husband noticed.
Is it? That's so funny.
When the book came, he's like, that's a very strategic photo. Listen, I'm not a guy. And listen, some women deal with thinning hair.
Right.
But, so I can't speak to that, but I'm like, if they were concerned about it, which, by the way, when you see pictures of William when he had hair, when he was younger, he was arguably better looking than Harry. However, I am a person who likes swag, and I just think that Harry has that, and he was the bad boy,
Yeah.
and like, you know, William's like the rule follower. Like, I would prefer my own son to be like that, but as far as like what I'm attracted to, I
Yes.
always go for the one that's a little left of center.
I hear you on that, and I think I agree with everything you just said, because William looks so much like Diana to me, especially when he had all the hair. I just can't help but wonder.
Wait, and there's a line in it, and this is not really a spoiler, but it's more like a zinger, where he references his brother's resemblance to his mother, and he says something like, well, he talks about he's like, and my brother's, you know, balding at a much faster pace than I, and his famous resemblance to my mother, which is fading by the day with his age, which can be it was like, the way it was worded was a real zinger. But again, don't forget, Princess Diana was only how old when she passed?
Right.
And now William is at least 40.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I just like a lot of men I know have been doing minoxidil or whatever since they were in their 20s preventatively. And I just can't help but wonder, I'm like, why wouldn't you do that if you're that? I don't know. And Charles has all that hair. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know
so
why
they
I'm so
say, and I don't
fixated on
know,
that.
I'm not a person who knows, but like the old wives' tale is you take after your mother's father where hair is concerned for men. So we'd have to look at Diana. Mr. Spencer's hair is in her last name, Spencer. All right, we're off topic. Our cocktailers are like, we don't care about the royals. We could do an extra pod about the royals.
We will, yeah. We'll do a little book club. And maybe what we'll do too is we'll talk about it. Maybe we'll talk about it at next month's Zoom for the members if they want to.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Okay, so back to our usual Bravo bullshit. Southern Charm. I mean, I don't even know where to start. There's so much to start with, but let's start with Southern Charm because that feels like one of the most recent things that started to happen this week. We've been hearing they are filming. We got a confirmation from somebody that they actually saw them filming this week.
Yes, they've spotted a bunch. They saw yesterday. Somebody told me Craig was filming at his store. Austin and Taylor were filming together. I think that was last week. I know there was a question mark with Shep. What I learned was the ball was in Shep's court. He was sort of considering leaving the show and not filming in any capacity. He is currently in Africa. He's returning, I think, this week or next week, and he will start filming. So he did decide to come back. I don't know what that's going to look like. If he was on the fence, it may look like a more limited version of him. The network loves him. I mean, we know he's great friends with Whitney, who's a producer. So, but and we heard these rumors, and shout out to my girl, Jen over at Black by Jax. She was in Charleston. She had it confirmed by, I believe, some of the Republic Levis staff that Catherine was indeed out. I heard it from another person, and the People article dropped yesterday that she's out. Along with that, the rumor is that she was rude to production and they've had it with her. She immediately put "I am Southern Charm" in her bio, very true to form. In other words, like, the show doesn't exist without me. And she started an OnlyFans.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, right? Because with some of the other casting changes that we'll talk about here in a minute, the Catherine one didn't surprise me. What would surprise me is if essentially all of the old guard, except for maybe Craig, would be out. So that's one of the reasons I'm not surprised that Shep is coming back. I also have just my own little theory that they're going to make this Austin and Taylor friendship thing more of a storyline. So, of course, they're going to want Shep on camera to be pissed about it, right? Because it's not an issue if Shep isn't showing that he's mad. And, I don't know.
That's
my thought.
Point. That's a really good point. And listen, Austin and Taylor are going to play into it because that's a good storyline for them.
Right.
Especially knowing it's not real, although that kind of stuff is very touchy because it could turn real very quickly. And
everyone loves a will they, won't they, right?
Right. And now that we know that the bull was in Shep's court and he was considering not coming back, your theory makes a lot of sense. Charleston people, reach out to me.
Yeah. Yes, have to watch and see. So
The whole OnlyFans thing concerns me because of who Thomas is and how he always tries to get custody. Beyond that, last season she was an outsider. We didn't see her much. When she was around, she wasn't really meshing with the cast. It was very obvious that it was a show and she was a part of it. Like they would never hang out if the cameras weren't there, is how I felt. I do feel sorry for her. I think we all have had sympathy for her for a long time. Yeah. It was very clear that Thomas took advantage. I mean, she was 21. He was 50-something when they got together. You know, at what point is that no longer the network's responsibility, right? To keep her on a show because she needs the check. And you know what? OnlyFans apparently earns a lot of money. And it's what it is. But I've always felt sympathy for her because of who she was involved with and the way that she was treated by him.
I agree. I'm sure he promised her the world. I have a question, and it's a dumb question, and the cocktailers are probably going to give me a lot of shit about this, but I've never been on OnlyFans. Does OnlyFans, like, hard equal nudity? Is it always, like, if you are on... Okay.
So I'm not on OnlyFans, but the reason I know that is because I know that Sonia Morgan has an OnlyFans. I think it's more like, it could be boudoir photos, so you have to be comfortable. Like, you're not going to be, like, in a suit and tie. You know what I mean? But you don't have to be nude. But the idea is sexy.
Got it.
And I'm sure nude makes more money than clothed, right?
Well, because, Larsa says on Miami that she just shows her toes, which I have a hard time believing.
There's a market for that.
I know.
I don't get that. I have awful feet, so nobody. If that for me, thank God it's not my part of my business. My feet I hate my feet, and like anyone who liked my feet, I wouldn't trust them. Like, oh my God, I could tell a story, but I'm saving that for cocktailers because it's way embarrassing, and I can't have it like where it's like public.
Yeah, so we can't give that away because the foot fetish people need to subscribe.
Oh my God! Ew. Oh my God. I will not allow that swipe to go through because if anyone messages me saying they're joining to hear about my feet, I'm puking on myself. And then I'm canceling everything, shutting down shop, and running away somewhere.
Oh my God, we're already so, like, I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. Okay, so what else do we have here? Okay.
Oh, Naomi,
yes. So,
I don't think this has officially been announced, but I know it to be true.
That she's out.
She's out, and by the time everyone hears this, I mean, listen, I think that it was kind of like Diana being out. I think it was an assumed thing. She's got this new boyfriend, Frank Keenan. His family owns the Breakers in Palm Beach. They're in oil. He has a stadium at UNC and a business school named after him. Super wealthy. He's certainly not going on a reality show. She has a pending lawsuit with her best friend suing her. Doubt she wants to talk about that. Yeah. And she had a bad showing last season. I mean, and I'm not blaming it fully on her or whatever, but it just, come on. I didn't need anyone to tell me she wasn't coming back, but it's been confirmed.
Yeah. I think we can probably guess, like, just like she left by choice before, that this will be by choice again. She's, clearly got a lot going on, and don't worry, cocktailers, we're going to still stay on top of that lawsuit, which I believe they're supposed to do their mediation or ADR. Technically, it didn't say what kind of ADR they're doing, but that's going to be in May. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. But again, not a huge shock, but going back to kind of what I was hinting at earlier, if Catherine's gone, Naomi's gone, Craig is still there, and if Shep were to leave too, it might feel like just too many people have left and not enough threads to kind of keep people watching for the people that they love from the OGs. You have to
soft launch new people.
Right. Exactly. I saw too, Austin was having lunch with his parents and with Patricia and Whitney. I think it was lunch. It was some sort of meal. But I'm like, smart. It's smart of him to, keep those relationships going. Because
Did I mention on here that
has a lot of...
I have Austin blocked on Bravo and Cocktails, but did I mention that he followed me on Cocktails and Gossip, my backup / our podcast account?
The ice is thawing.
I mean, public apology. I want a post that says, I'm sorry for talking bad about Bravo and Cocktails. She's only ever recapped the behaviors I've displayed on television. And maybe called me a Muppet Mouth, but I did not make that up. Honestly and truly, I have really no ill will towards him. Like, if I saw him in person and I wasn't scared of, like, the whole anonymous, I can't talk.
Yes.
I'm guys, so sober, drinking water, have to drive around later. I would totally go over and be like, what's up? I really legitimately am Bravo and Cocktails. And I think that he would be like, oh, why do you do that? And, like, at the end of it, after we have, like, a glass of wine or a beer, we'd be like buddies, because he reminds me of some of, like, my college friends, like the frat guys or the football team that I hung out with. And, like, they're not bad people. They just put their foot in their mouth and they have a few too many beers and they act stupid, but, like, they're good people deep down.
Totally. I totally agree. I think he isn't a grudge holder and is a pretty amiable personality in general. So I would agree. I meant to say too, guys, if you guys like me, what are you talking about with the lawsuit with Naomi? We did a deep dive back in the podcast episode 24 and then a follow-up in episode 30 talking about the ADR and thinking it's probably mediation and all of that. So if you want to catch up with that, those are the episodes to kind of go back and look at. Okay.
And Amanda really goes into detail, but what I like about your deep dives is you really do it in layman's terms so that it's easy to understand. Sometimes when you read stuff, it's like, wait, what? Can you just tell me this in, like, not in such legal jargon? So it's good. And you'll have a full understanding of what is what.
Yes. And we really do try with these things to not take sides and not to pass too much judgment, because you have to always remember when you're looking at court documents, that's what one side says. When it's especially a civil suit, when it's, like the Jen Shah stuff, when you see what the U.S. government is saying, well, that is backed with proof. Right. But with a civil suit, it's very much going to be worded based on, well, I did this and you did this, and it's going to be very much coming from their own side. So we try hard not to pass judgment. Okay, Beverly Hills. Let's go there next. So Rinna's gone, which we spent some time being shocked about because it literally happened as we were recording last week. We knew Diana was going to be gone, so, like, not a huge shocker. Got some exclusive tea that we posted last week, if you want to share.
So the official cast really isn't nailed down. We've heard different things about Crystal. We've heard she's out. We've heard she's demoted. So obviously, I would imagine it's going to be one of the two. Then the Ultimate Girls Trip cast was finally announced, and on it are both Brandi and Camille. Now, if they're on that, the assumption is they're no longer ex-wives and they can't be full-time on Beverly Hills. So, did negotiations fall apart? Brandi was just on Watch What Happens Live. They did not confirm that she'd be on Beverly Hills, although they certainly teased that she wanted to come back and the audience wanted her back. I love Brandi back. I like Camille back. I assume that we're going to see them. But so then what I hear from the source is there's a lot of change going on this season. And that minus Rinna and Diana, it will be the same. But we can expect a couple of new faces. We can expect perhaps performance-based, which is what we heard. Dorit may be a performance-based. Brandi possibly could be a performance-based. What that means. What does a performance-based mean? If you don't have much of a storyline, you're going to be considered a friend, right? Billed as a friend. Mm-hmm. And if you give us something, Dorit was in a situation last year. And then she had the unfortunate robbery, which kept her as full-time. So it's something to look for. In my heart of hearts, and this isn't from a source, I think that they're holding out because I feel like, first of all, a lot's going on. So Bravo has the benefit of keeping all of us happy with all these trailers and, Miami and Southern Charm, School, and all this stuff that's happening. I think that they are trying to lock somebody big. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm. That would
Rinna
make sense.
opens up a big salary. It's a lot of money that just opened up.
I think that's a really, really good theory. I think they need something like that. You know, they're gonna need something really interesting and different with Rinna gone. And I don't think getting Kathy to be a full housewife is it. I think you're right. I think it's gotta be somebody else. I would like to hereby suggest Jennifer Coolidge, who
Yes.
said that in an interview that she would do it. I mean, how amazing would that be?
But I just feel like nobody could ever get mad at her, so she would just have to be on the show, just almost in a Sonia Morgan capacity.
Yeah.
I mean, she is the Sonia Morgan of Hollywood, is she not? Like, just like it's impossible to dislike her, and maybe they'll get annoyed because she's flighty or she's late or she's whatever, but nobody ever really has true beef with her.
Yeah, totally. I don't know. Maybe like a Heidi Klum or, gosh, I don't know. I mean, I think we've definitely had some guesses, but I also just wanted to point out once again, you know, we put the tea out and people love to like rag on us and say it's, you know, so wild. I mean, the cocktailers, you guys know, but I'm literally running out of fingers and toes to count on the times that this has happened where we put this tea out and people are like, you're so wrong. You're so wrong. And then it comes through because here we go. You know, we know that Brandi is coming back in some capacity. Camille is coming back in some capacity. Again,
Alex McCord is on the fucking
Yes.
girls trip. When I tell you the heat I took, okay, for this, and I said to myself, like, I don't even believe this, but you want to know what? The source had given me the full cast of the Real Housewife, the Real Girls, whatever it is, the girls trip, the third one, and I was like, listen, this dude knows what he's talking about. He specifically gives me stuff about girls trips, and lo and behold.
I know. And again, here we go. So like a big high five for getting that scoop. But also, guys, like cocktailers, you guys believe, like you guys know. I think B did such a good job of saying when something comes from a source versus, you know, when it doesn't come from a source, often it's just the tea. And so like that's something else that, you know, that you guys probably know just from reading the site and listening to the podcast. So that was, I mean, it did seem a little bit unbelievable because Alex now of course I had to like do some Googling on what's going on. She's a psychologist. She just finished grad school. Simon went to law school, is a lawyer, and has his own firm in Australia. They live, I think, in like Byron Bay, which is like a beautiful area. I might have that detail wrong, but they live like in the beach in this like gorgeous area in Australia. And she has not been on TV whatsoever in over a decade. I think we've heard her on a few podcasts here or there, but no TV. And I looked into it because I was like, wait a second, has she really not been on anything? And it literally since like I think 2008, so maybe 15 years. But I also found out when I'm digging through all this that she used to be in movies and on soap operas. Did you know that?
Well, we saw her wanting to model, so it's not that much of a stretch, but yeah,
I had no idea.
It's great. It's fantastic. And people are complaining like, oh, why are we getting some of the same ladies? Guys, it's Phaedra Parks, okay? Mm-hmm. It's Eva, who is fantastic on, and you know, even in like Thrill Me on Atlanta, but I loved her on Girls Trip. I think she's like that calming force. So they're good people that are coming. Like, I don't mind a repeat if it's good. We're getting Caroline Manzo, who we also said was coming, which was a little bit more believable because Caroline's name's always in the mix. And, you know, she's been on things and she had her own show and then she's been here and there. So
get these
I do feel...
on,
so talking about Beverly Hills, because I'm thinking about this because, you know, my mind wanders. I'm feeling like Erica needs an ally. Kyle can switch it up easily now, especially with Kathy and her on the outs. And we do hear that Kathy, I think we could see her in the friend capacity, even though her daughters don't want it. So who connected to Erica? Like, because Diana's gone, Rena's gone. Sutton and Garcelle are no longer her friends, although they were at one time.
Right.
Dorit is sort of like wishy-washy. I wouldn't count her as an ally. Like, she needs a soldier.
Right. I mean,
And then on
Camille?
Girls Trip, to Erica, no. No.
Yeah. So maybe it's whoever this new person is.
Speaking of Camille, her and Brandy are going to be explosive because they have their long-standing Twitter beef, which was talked about on Watch What Happens Live. And apparently Brandy at one point called Camille a useless twat. So that's going to be fun to watch. I'm also thinking Caroline will like Phaedra and Eva. And I also can see Caroline liking Brandy. And in the same way Dorinda kind of put Brandy back in her place, but was like motherly to her or like an auntie.
Yes.
I feel like Caroline can fall in line with that.
Completely, totally agree. I think Brandy gravitates towards people who are grounded. So I think she's gonna love Caroline. I think Caroline totally will take this like kind of motherly / caretaker approach with her. I don't know. Was it you who said you think that the wives who were on the Bluestone Manor trip will ally up?
I don't really remember, but it makes sense because they do have a bond. And even though there were some like arguments during that, they by and large really all got along at the end of the day. Like they had good moments. And it's like, it's just natural that you connect with the people you know. You know what I mean? It's like when kids go from elementary and then like several elementary schools merge to a middle school. Like they kind of become friendlier with the kids that they went to elementary school with, even if they didn't really hang out as much in elementary because there's a familiar, it's a familiar person.
So let's predict. I think you're right. And like, let's predict who we think Vicky and Alex will get along with. I think Vicky is going to latch on to Phaedra. And I think Alex and Caroline become friends.
I can see that very easily because Alex and Caroline are more reality based. And I think that Phaedra, I think we saw in the first one, Phaedra is nice to everyone. But I also think that Phaedra sees like a Vicky or a Ramona as, I'm just saying Ramona, I don't know why because she wasn't even there, but as like almost like an aunt, right? So they're at least a decade older than her. And I almost can't, because remember, Atlanta, everybody was similar age to her. And I feel like Phaedra's old fashioned. Well, we know she is from, and I can't see her being disrespectful to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To somebody she perceives as older. I think it kind of goes against her value system. And I think that Vicky needs somebody who will zip it, even if they should say something. And I think Phaedra can play that part for her. I'm very curious to see how Vicky and Caroline can get along because I think that they could really clash or they could really click.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're both like mama bears with their adult children and hardworking and strong and opinionated. And that could mean best of friends. Like it's going to go one way or the other. There's not going to be a lukewarm bond there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just hope Vicky brings her like woohoo side and not her like boohoo all is like, I'm so sad side because like I got so tired of seeing that. Nobody wants to see it. I know she just went through a breakup and I know that sucks terribly, but like.
But now she's happy with this new boyfriend who looks just like her old boyfriend, so.
People have, in college, I took this amazing, like, it was sexual humans and sex or something like that class, which like fit up, and it was like one of those like everybody wanted to take it. It was taught in this huge auditorium. Like it was like such a fun class, and the professor he taught all kinds of crazy stuff and about sex. But one of the things that he talked a lot about is people have this like template of who he called it the attraction template of kind of like what they find attractive. So like you and I both think like redheaded men can be good looking, like a lot, and so I think Vicky just has a very clear attraction template and like she likes what she likes. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right. So on to the next big blockbuster event that's just happened in the last week. Jen Shah got sentenced to 6.5 years and then 5 years of supervised release, which I would imagine means like parole or something, like checking in with something like that. And then she's requesting that one of those years, I believe, would be in a like drug rehab program, which would mean like it's a year in a better setting, essentially. So what do we think?
I think we all thought she would get more time because people below her got more time.
Right.
So I was a little confused. I think the judge just ripped her a new one. I thought some of the lines were fantastic. Her own counsel was sort of like, really? You're paying these people to say this stuff? I don't need an Andy interview, Amanda. We saw the sentencing. She is a liar through and through. She doesn't tell the truth. There's no point in an interview. To me, she isn't Teresa. The audience is not invested in the same way. It's like, I'm done with her. Bye. Side note, while we're talking about this, because a couple followers asked me my opinion, and I want to hear your opinion. Do you think Teresa reached out to Jen since she was in a similar situation to offer her whatever?
I think that she did not, because I think Teresa does not see herself as similar to what Jen is going through. What do you think?
Totally. I think no. I think Teresa doesn't think much outside of her own little orbit.
I could see Jen reaching out to Teresa, and then we'll see if Teresa picks up the phone. I guess we'll never know, but I don't see Teresa reaching out to her.
Right.
And it is different to me. It's the crimes feel pretty different to me. And then once again, so we know that Jen's behavior post when she admitted her guilt had an effect on her sentencing. And then she goes right out to dinner with a group of 20 people to that restaurant. And then we got the tea about it, of course.
Which is funny because somebody was there and then they spoke to a server. I mean, it was picked up by Page Six, but it was just funny that the person sent it to me. I mean, it's just tacky. You've just been sentenced. You clearly committed the crime. You admitted to committing the crime, and now you're out celebrating and yucking it up in a fancy, expensive Midtown restaurant while there are victims who you owe money to. Don't think Coach was there. Kind of odd that he wasn't there, but hey.
I don't think it's that shocking to me at all. I don't think we're going to see much of Coach anymore. I think he is sweating it. I think he's worried he's going to get in trouble too, especially the last few weeks. There's been so much talk about how he was involved and knew about what was going on. As much as I don't want to believe it, I feel like he had to have known something and could have stopped something at some point, right? And I think there's that. I think he's got more self-awareness, so I think he understands what it looks like to go out for dinner with 20 people and that it's a bad look. I think he and Jen have been over for years. I think he only stayed because he knew it would look really bad when Jen was being investigated if they got divorced.
Oh, you never told me about this theory. This is...
I thought because remember how we had heard Jen was living in a townhouse with somebody else, and I'm like, I just I've gotten the vibe that they weren't really together and that it's been for show. I think this theory has crystallized over the last week because there's been so much talk about how Jen was like, let me ask Coach, he'll know what to do, and some of these texts and stuff like that. So I think he's smartly laying low. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. I'm just pondering that. And also, yeah, and the fact that she had these boyfriends, and makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, she still has a lot of love for him. She was maybe when the show happened, she was hoping that somehow that would realistically rekindle, because she definitely, that's what always surprised me about the affair rumors, because she very clearly seems very in love with him. And he just seems like a nice, compassionate kind of person, and they do have children together. So your theory is really making sense.
I kind of wonder if it's more of a daddy kind of situation though, because I don't see her being like, come here, you know, like I don't see her like acting like super attracted. I don't know. I think I don't.
they've been together since college, so there's like that bond there, like they
Right.
grew up together and they have kids together, and so he's going to support her regardless.
Yeah. I don't know. Who knows? I guess we'll never know unless she decides to do a memoir, and then
Right.
I'm sure I'll read it. Okay, so Vanderpump, we had some drama pop up. I think it was yesterday. So let's start with the drama, and then we can talk about the Vanderpump Rules trailer. Again, so much happening. So Stassi had a birthday party for her daughter. I think it was her second birthday. So she posts about the party. She tagged a bunch of vendors. And then we see somebody says, like, you forgot to tag Picnic and Pedal and Glitz and Glamour, which are two different companies, I believe. Like, they're two different Instagram accounts. And then she replies, she's like, well, that's because the experience wasn't one that I would endorse or recommend. Both companies then kind of take to their stories, be like, can you believe this? They bash Stassi. They don't say what her name is. And then, so we hear about all this because a follower sends this. And then Stassi did take her comment about saying it wasn't one that I would endorse or recommend. But then...
So I have insider scoop on both sides of the story, and that's actually a planned extra pod for the cocktail party. It's very good and juicy, but social media is a beast, man.
I don't know. I think a lot of it just kind of comes down to the details, and like if she was comped or if it was part of the contract, you really should follow through. But if it wasn't and she did, so I don't know that I know enough about this. I think I'm going to have to hear the story on the extra pod to kind of make a judgment. Okay.
Right.
And also, by the way, I think regardless, the vendor is social media savvy and they're making hay of this and getting the attention, maybe even more than they would have had they just been tagged. So,
right.
I don't know. Okay, so the trailer starts out with Tom and Katie sitting at dinner saying, we are a divorce success story, cheersing. But then it blows up. We see him making out with Raquel. We also see as one of the very eagle-eyed cocktailers, I believe, pointed out, the girlfriend Jo, who supposedly, quote unquote, lives with him now, that nobody ever talks about. We see her at the table too. We see Rachel, whatever her name is, dating Peter and Garcelle's son, Oliver.
I mean, this girl, Rachel, who has reinvented herself to Raquel, who you lovingly call Rochelle, she really made herself the center of a show that already has a lot of big, bold personalities and a lot of drama. And I have to tell you the truth, Amanda, I did not think that the Bambi-eyed bee had it in her. In a way, I'm impressed because she played it this whole time she's been on the show like she had no personality other than being with DJ James Kennedy. Clearly, that wasn't the case because she manufactured quite the storyline. The love, is it even a triangle? It's a rectangle for herself. And speaking of Mr. James Kennedy, it seems like he admits, or Lala does, that they've hooked up. Now, editing can be tricky, so It could be that they were talking because we all know they hooked up back in the day, but they want us to think that it was a hookup that happened after him and Raquel broke off their engagement. So we hear his girlfriend who's intimidated by their friendship. I mean, duh. Why wouldn't this young girl be intimidated by Lala, who I'm sure she's watched on television, be very aggressive? Plus, their friendship and everything. He's always been in love with Lala. That's a secret to nobody. And just as we predicted was happening. Sheena is sort of in the background. We had said, right, that it sounded like her storyline was being in everyone's business, and it seems pretty accurate. But, you know, good luck with that, because the other cast members who are bearing all their deep, dirty laundry are not going to like it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, also in the trailer, someone tells Ariana that Katie said her and Tom Sandoval had an open relationship.
It's a lot for like what, a 2-minute long trailer.
Right.
So I'm so excited. I think this season it's definitely going to get me back, because I did not watch the last season. I do have to say, like, I mean, way to go, Rochelle, for parlaying your Booth Bunny beginnings into being a main character on Vanderpump. So, I mean, I don't even know where to go, but Ariana.
I'm so ready. I'm excited.
Yeah. We saw Ariana's tweet. I follow her. I have always enjoyed her. She tweeted, "I'm not cool enough, you know, to be in an open relationship. I thought we knew this, LOL." So I don't know. Do you think they have one? Do you think maybe she just looks the other way? What do you think?
I mean, we know she hooked up with Lala back in the day, so maybe they don't have an open relationship where he's allowed, but clearly they didn't break up, and he wasn't mad when, remember, her and Lala hooked up in the back of the car? So in some capacity, they have had an open relationship. I think she means that to say, like, he's not actively out there looking for other women. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So,
and
maybe they're more serious now, and they don't. She wouldn't hook up with anyone, but at one time she did. We know that.
I mean, I don't. It's hard to understand how that kind of stuff could even go on when two people are such public figures without it getting out. You know what I mean? So,
right.
I don't know. Well, you know, I live for a mid-season trailer, and the Miami one just dropped, which is not shockingly, because the season has been so good. It's so good. So Nicole and Larsa get into some sort of big fight about something.
Well, we see Nicole tell Alexia, like, "I'm a Latina woman and I'm pretty, and this could get me fired from my job, this stupid rumor she started." I have to say, Larsa came to play this season. I thought she was a little bit of a snooze last season. But, like, with everyone's story but her own, very much a la Sheena, her divorce is old news, right? We watched it, and it was old news when they filmed it, but fine, we hadn't seen her in years. You're dating Marcus Jordan at this point. Like, stop with the "I'm going on dates." No, you're not. You're dating Marcus Jordan. Next season, good luck to Larsa, because Miami isn't fake, and they are going to call you out. Girl, you're in danger.
Yeah. She does have this way of the, like, very, like, not fact, but, like, she's, like, always got this, like,
a little flat,
you know, and, like, 'cause, like the Kardashians, right? Where it's like,
yes.
I don't get.
Oh, duh. Well, she's like she was friends with them.
Right. And so I think that she's picked up this part of her personality, because I don't remember her being like that old Miami, but, you know, so then she comes in and she'll be like, "I have tea." And, like, you know, she'll just, you know,
of the girls, she's the most staged. She's the most staged. And we do have moments where she breaks out of that and shows her real raw emotion. And I think if somebody came for her in the way that we're going to see Nicole, maybe we'll see more real raw emotion. But she is, because that cast is all authentic. And of them, I would say she's the most staged.
Yeah. But I also have to give her big props for being there for Lisa when Lisa is going through this insane time in her life. Okay, so who else? Okay, so Adriana, how do we say her name? I know I'm saying, is it Adriana?
I think it's Adriana.
Adriana. I'm sorry, Adriana. I'm really not doing this to be disrespectful at all. I don't know why. I just constantly am having trouble with your name. So,
well, because it's I say Adriana a lot too. Like, Adriana is a more common name, I think.
Right.
But she pronounces it Adriana.
Adriana. So, you know, I hadn't watched the last episode yet, and now I know what you meant when you're like, this dress that she's wearing. I mean,
how
she
hot?
is fucking amazing shape.
Yes.
God, if I can have like just, I mean, not that I don't think I would, even if I had it, could wear a dress, get up the nerve to wear up a dress like that. But she wears
I
it
would be
well. She
nervous
looks
my kitty
amazing.
cat would come out, but that's just me.
And any of the parts, like
Right.
yeah. Anyway, I digress again, but so she has it out with Marisol and Alexia.
And there's a reason that Adriana clings to Julia. She has some real long-standing issues with both Alexia and Marisol, and
Mm-hmm.
also, I I don't know if Lisa's in that mix because I see it's hard because this season obviously Lisa's in such a different place
Right.
that we can't even we can't even put that we
Yeah.
can't even put her, so taking it out.
Nobody's
She
fucking with
has,
Lisa. Yeah. She's got enough on her own. So even I think Adriana is kind of leaving her alone this season.
but
Yeah.
also Adriana starts a lot of it, like telling Marisol that her boyfriend was never in love with her.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucked up. Even if he told her that, like, you're saying it on camera and you're expecting Marisol and Alexia to not come for you, which I think that Adriana does not care because I think she doesn't mind looking messy. She just wants screen time. She wants the fame, and good for her
Yeah.
because we love it. We also, and now we know because apparently Lisa came out and said that Lenny's mother is no longer supporting her. She's on her son's side. And I think we're going to start to see that this season already because in the preview, we see her placing blame. She's like, well, you had those parties with all those women. And Lisa's like, that is no excuse. So here we go. Expect
Yeah.
everyone to turn on Lenny's mom, who we all thought was going to be the backbone and help Lisa, which we know that Lisa doesn't speak to her own parents. So it's just very sad all around for her.
Yeah. I mean, blood is thicker than water. I'm not shocked that has
Right. I get
happened.
it.
I was actually more surprised that she publicly had that lunch with Lisa and was, seeming to be a shoulder for her to cry on, which that was more surprising to me, honestly. Not that she wouldn't privately say I'm here for you, but to publicly go on camera and do that was I was surprised by that.
Well, I think what that was maybe it was fresh and she was hoping that her son was just had an
Yeah.
affair but was obviously not going to leave his family, and maybe when he said to her like, we're really done, I am getting a divorce, she was like,
Yeah.
well, I don't want this, but I obviously am going to support my son.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, Miami, thank you for continuing to bring it because we're here for it. Okay. What else do we have? This just happened, I think, yesterday. Well, officially announced that Shannon's boyfriend, quote unquote, blindsided. Let's get back to that blindsided word here in a second by breaking up with her and then publicly announcing it, saying, I think I did the right thing.
He said that?
Yes. He
I didn't even read the whole thing
Us
because it was
or
bullshit
people
to
or
me.
somebody like that saying, I think I did the right thing.
That whole thing was bullshit to me because we spoke about it on the pod. Certainly we've posted blinds all throughout the spring and summer, hearing that their relationship was not even in good standing, that it was just really for the show, and it was like mutually beneficial for them to be together on the show. Even Jeff Lewis called. He didn't say exactly that, but he's friends with her, and he was like, yeah, he's not the one. So, yesterday our source who had been telling us that they were like basically for show was like, B, this is true. You've been posting for months. Their relationship was for show and filming. He liked the fame and attention, and she liked looking like she was in a relationship. She did not really deliver this season. Enter her new plan for next season, a breakup. Things have not been going good for a long, long time, if they ever even were, in regards to her relationship. Again, these are allegations, but several people have sent us stuff about this.
So I think there was some inkling of something there, right? Because like I follow Shannon, I like Shannon. She was in Las Vegas, happened to be at the same time when I was in Las Vegas to watch the USC game, that they were there for I don't know, some championship, I forget which one, for football. And John was there with her and like doing all the things. I'm like, I don't know that you, like, if you're doing something for show, that you go along with somebody to Vegas for 4 or 5 days, 3 or 4 days, however long she was there, just to be in a couple of her social posts. So I think there was something there. I think maybe she was talking herself more into it being more real than I think maybe he didn't ever take it as seriously. So I totally believe that the T was right, but I think also like I think it might have been a little more complicated than that.
As things usually are.
Yeah.
But I do think that this is her storyline. You know, hopefully she's hoping there's a next season. I think it's pretty cut and dry. The timing is very convenient. Not only are cameras down, but they're going to start promoting soon enough. So, I don't know. You know.
So she's, yeah. And it would make sense that the timing would make sense that she'd hopefully get another season. I don't know. I'm rooting for you, Shannon Beador. Shannon Beador, as she always says, her full name. And then, okay, so I guess, so literally today, a couple hours before we started to record, the Summer House trailer, I mean, what didn't, like, I feel like there was so much that went on this week. I still can't even get over it. So Summer House trailer comes out today. What did you think?
I mean, we see Danielle and Lindsay in a really bad, volatile situation. You see it escalate throughout the clips, like throughout the season. It's hard to tell exactly what set it off, but they're mad. I mean, they're big mad. We see Paige and Craig seem to be in a different place regarding engagement. I think that's also an editing job. I think there'll be more to that. Amanda and Kyle saying that Carl is a do-nothing at work, and if he left, he wouldn't even notice. I mean, that speaks to our speculation that he's no longer with the company other than being an investor. It looks amazing. I mean, the whole cast, though, seems like against Lindsay and Carl, and you see Carl, like, yell at the cameras at one point, which is very much out of his character.
Yeah. It also shows him talking to Lindsay and being like, I've been working my ass off. So that's a pretty big disconnect between Kyle saying you wouldn't know if he's got, and he says since he started dating Lindsay, not that he's never, because I think they had said previously on the show, like that Carl was kicking ass. And so it's like, it kind of feels like they're sort of blaming it on Lindsay a little bit if Carl's performance is down. And I can imagine that Carl would take huge issue with that, especially if in his mind, he feels like he's still working his ass off. And I don't know about you, but I mean, if he's traveling most weekends, like we had seen him do up until a certain point to go and promote the brand, you know, like, of course he doesn't want to be doing that every weekend. That's work, you know, and like, yes, it's fun. And yes, there's going to be a lot of like fun parts of it, but at the end of the day, it's still work. So I can imagine.
And now you're sober and you're not looking to date any of the people that you're meeting. So.
Right.
Not so fun anymore. But it's still your job. So, you know, then the conversation becomes, and again, this isn't a business podcast, but, you know, the conversation becomes like, how does this role evolve? Or does it? Or do they, you know, it's kind of shitty to see it play out on television. And quite honestly, I think it's kind of shitty of Kyle to put it out there. I know they're filming a reality show, but, you know, that's Carl's job. And we've seen in the past before when he wasn't sober, his jobs not work out. And for him to kind of badmouth his best friend who married him on national television as opposed to have a private conversation, which might be, you know, I think you've outgrown this role. I can see that you're not interested in traveling in the way that the company needs you. So stay on as an investor, but we're going to find somebody else. Like, that's fine, but you don't need to, you know, you don't need to talk behind his back about it or even have the conversation on camera, but make it fair. Make it you sitting sober, right? Because also the clips we saw of Kyle, he was seemingly drunk, shouting about it to like other cast members. And clearly people in the house are against Lindsay, which they're a package deal now. So it does seem unfair. Whether or not his performance has not been great aside, because all of that might be true. I don't think Kyle would say it if it wasn't true from his perspective, right? So maybe his perspective is that his performance has gone down. There's better ways to handle that.
Well, and it's got to be, again, just from the 2 minutes we saw in the trailer, that's got to be really freaking hard to hear from somebody who also is getting shit-faced, wearing mullets, and then like pulling his pants down in front of the entire party. Like,
Right.
I'm sure Craig is like, or Carl is like, okay, dude, like, what the fuck? You're the one who literally, you know, is acting like a frat boy at these parties,
Right.
and you're firing me. Like, I can see both. I can see it, you know, and I unfortunately, I think, you know, while it's probably not fair to blame Lindsay, I think Lindsay is definitely the catalyst in a lot of this. And I can see, like, what made me kind of sad is you can see the pain in Danielle's face.
Yes.
During this, but you don't really see Lindsay. Like, Lindsay just looks pissed and like indignant, but not like the hurt in her face.
And that's what I expected. I was hoping that I was like wrong, but I expected it. She looks like exhausted by it. She looks annoyed by it. She's like, if you're not just going to ride for me and fully support me and just blindly support me and be happy for everything I decide to do, then I don't need you.
Which is cold. Especially if Danielle thought they were really, truly best friends, you know, BFFs.
Which clearly she did. And you see Danielle say, like, I don't talk behind your back. I say shit straight to your face. And I don't think anyone touched anyone, but it was very, very heated. Speaking of Danielle, so she's sitting at the table and we see a girl she's talking to say, you were dating my boyfriend. I was with the guy for 3 years and he cheated on me with you. Well, as soon as the trailer aired today, a cocktailer sends me a message. She's a friend of Gabby's. So Gabby's a new castmate on Summer House. Okay. And it's the person who says to Danielle, my boyfriend cheated on me with you. And she said she's also the one who falls off the couch. I wasn't sure at first. I thought that was Ciara, but then I saw Ciara. So I was like, oh, that must be the new girl that falls off the couch. So I said to her, wait, what? She said, yes, the new girl, Gabby, is a friend of mine, you know, when we lived in New York City, like 2014 to 2016. She's so sweet and so low key. She was a really great person. She's always had amazing PR magazine jobs. She's in the trailer saying to Danielle, my ex-boyfriend cheated on me with you. She was a friend of a friend of a friend, but we ended up like clicking and getting close. But the girl who wrote to me got engaged and she moved back to where she's from, so she hasn't seen her in a while. And she just says, like, I hope television doesn't change her because she's a great girl.
So Gabby, she's the one who she's talking to Lindsay and she's like, this is only week 3. And Lindsay's like, try out. Okay, that's Gabby. And then we have blonde girl. Is her name Sam? I forget
her name. But we see her hook up with Corey, who obviously is a thing for blondes.
Yes. Who, again, have it's a very specific look. Like, very, anyway. And then there's this other guy who's all muscly. Do we know who that is?
I hope he's not like that last one.
Alex?
Yeah, the bore. Meantime, then we see our sweet Andrea pop up.
I was going to ask you, do you know anything? I feel like you're, like, on it when it comes to Andrea.
He just did a couple visits. Andrea, we know. I said this in the beginning. He decided not to go because they kind of wanted him to be the single lover boy. They didn't want the girlfriend on, and he was like, I'm not going to go if I can't hang with my girlfriend all summer. So that was his choice. Yeah. It was his choice in that they wouldn't let him bring his girlfriend.
Got it.
So,
well,
yeah.
I mean, what a wild week.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if every week is like this, I'm gonna be real tired, but entertained and distracted.
I'm gonna have a family that hates me.
Oh my gosh.
All right, guys, there's so much. My brain is spinning. I know yours is too. Next Monday, well, actually, by the time the pod comes out, it will be past.
Yeah. Well, we will.
But we're posting. We'll post all the updates. And keep sending us the scoop, guys. We love you. I love that the new girl on Summer House, I immediately, within minutes of the trailer, I get the whole scoop on the new girl. Like, I now have a contact for the new girl. Thank you. You guys rock. And that's exactly how it happens. Like, and I'll also have followers who are like, oh my God, that person used to be roommates with my best friend. And then I'm like, tell your best friend to message me. So the best friend starts following me and then that becomes my source. So
Yeah.
It's not, it's usually not the cast. Everyone wants to be like, oh, so-and-so tells Bravo and Cocktails everything. Not really. Their friend from college tells me everything.
Well, also, by the way, just kudos to that person for reaching out and being like, she's super sweet and whatever. Because I would say we get one of those for every like 10 like snarky mean comments about people. So like, good for you. Like, I think this Gabby sounds like a real one, but also like good for you, friend, for being like, oh, she's awesome. I love that.
Yes. All right,
okay,
Cocktailers.
Well, thank you guys.
Till next time.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Just want to ask you guys a favor, just getting kicked off. So many people have been asking us to do this podcast. So please do subscribe. And if you've subscribed, go to your podcast app and hit those 3 little dots to share with your friends, but only friends who like good tea, because the ones who don't care about tea, then like forget them. And don't forget, find us on Instagram at bravoandcocktails_. And check out the website because some great tea gets put there daily that would get us kicked off of Instagram. So thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye, guys. See you next time.